Hey, what's up, fellas? Welcome back to the new and improved rod shop, where today we're going to be building the American Tackle G2 carbon fiber handle assembly with a vibe. Yeah, I think I got all the parts. Stick around. Okay, so what you're looking at here are four complete handle assemblies for the American Tackle G2 adjustable carbon fiber handle assembly with the Vibe CCT Vibe reel seat ULH with the 3K carbon fiber foregrip RSI -4 3 MK3 insert and a ton of trim pieces. This handle assembly has 11 parts before you put it on a rod. So yeah, it's going to be a while. So what I thought I'd do today is I'm going to take you through one stock build, and then I have some pretty trick custom machined from aluminum billet trim pieces that match up with these. These are done by a buddy of mine who has a race car shop. It was his idea, and they're pretty awesome, and they're not for sale. So, sorry, I'm the only one that has them. Sorry, so let's get started. Let me clean up a little bit of this stuff that we're not going to assemble at the moment. So we're not going to use the custom pieces yet. We are not going to glue this trim piece that goes in the butt of the rod yet. We are not going to cut these handles, the butt grip handle section to size, and use it yet. Pretty much everything else we're going to put together. So let me get set up here. Show you what tools I'm going to use. So yeah, sanding sponge. These, I buy these off of Amazon. They're in the nails section, I guess. Anyway, the Health and Beauty. It's a sanding sponge. It has two different grits on it. I also buy these fingernail file emery board. I buy them in a pack of 100 because I use them all the time for sharpening guides and for doing scratching and this kind of thing we're going to do today. And then I have what is essentially a 20 grit sand tape that I bought. It's the same grit, and you buy it to redo your extreme reamers with. They actually will go around the fiberglass extreme reamer piece, but I find these are very handy to use. Okay, we're also going to need a paper plate. I'm going to use the Pro Glue 10 minute, or it's a 5 minute epoxy glue. It doesn't really set in 5 minutes, but it's closer to 10. I'm going to use, which pick am I going to use? I'm going to use this pick that I got. It's in a pick set. It's actually a clay sculpting tool. There's a link down in the description to Amazon where I got a set of these, and these have become very handy. They're not expensive. It was like $10 for a set. So what else we're going to use? We're going to use some paper towels for cleanup, some alcohol for cleanup, and let's get rolling. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark and glue my insert into my reel seat. Now, where I would like this insert to stop is right here where there is a little bit of a lip inside the reel seat. Is where I like that insert to stop. So what I do then is I will hold this where I want that to stop, and take my pencil, and on the most exposed part of the trigger seat, which is here, I'm going to mark that to make sure that I don't scratch past what I want hidden. So I got a little bit of play there. There's my mark. When I take it to where I want it to seat, the mark's hidden, so I'm going to scratch everything on this end of I'm going to scratch everything on this end of the insert. So I'll go ahead and mark all of these the same. I'm only going to build one, but I'm going to try to save myself a little time while I'm here, because I've got all 4 of these to build. Okay, got it marked. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to scratch it. Now on these, I like using the sanding sponge. Like I said, it's got 2 different grits. I find the heavier grit, which is this side, and I'm just going to put my thumb on the mark so I don't slip past it. And all I want to do is get the shine off. You just want to put a few scratches in it so that the liquid epoxy has a little bit more to bind to. Alright, now I'm going to take my alcohol and I'm going to wipe that dust out of there and get this one ready to glue up. Alright, so you can see, I can see that it is scratched up, and I can barely feel some scratches there. If you wanted more of a heavier scratch, you take this heavy grit and you really get a good scratch of the carbon fiber. Okay, now we got a really good score on there. The other thing I'm going to do is this piece, the inside of the sleeve is actually going to be on the outside of the aluminum piece. It's going to be glued. The inside of the aluminum piece is actually going to glue to the outside of the carbon fiber foregrip like that. So what we need to do is scratch inside, outside, inside, and then outside. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this little strip, just why I like it, and I'm just going to lightly score the inside. Same thing with the aluminum. You gotta be careful. This stuff is kind of tender, so you can't really like grab it and tweak on it, or you'll take it out around a little bit. So we're just scoring it. Same thing on the outside. Just a few scratches. And then we're going to do the outside of the foregrip locking nut. Okay, now let's wipe that dust down. So we're going to do inside, outside, inside, and outside. Okay, now let's mix up a little glue and we'll put this front assembly together. So we're going to take just a drop. You're not going to do much at a time. The stuff sets pretty quick. You don't want to be in a rush. It'll get you in trouble every time. I got a couple drops about a little smaller than a dime on the paper plate. I'll take my spatula. I'm just going to mix them together for a few seconds. Okay, my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. First thing I want to glue up is the insert. So let's put some glue on the outside of this insert. Get a pretty good coat on it. Alright, interrupt this video because when I was putting these together, the last couple together, it dawned on me that I took a shortcut that I probably shouldn't have taken, because you guys don't want to do this. So wherever I stick this in the video, take the locking nut off of the base of the reel seat before you glue in the insert. And here's why. Is that if you have too much glue, an excess amount, on the insert when you put it in, then you can mess up your locking nut. And I didn't realize what I had done because I've done it this way. I didn't go back to the very basics. So we're going to do one more real quick. So insert. I got my glue mixed up. Alright, so we're going to coat the end that we scratched of this insert. And I'll put my glasses back on so I can see. Okay. And we're going to drop this in the reel seat. I put my thumb here and I drop it in and it catches so I can control it. And then I'm going to start spinning. We got a little excess there, which is fine because it'll pull in just like that. Oop, I got too much on it. Had you not pulled this apart, you would have done that, and that would have messed up your locking nut. It would have been permanent, which I don't want you guys messing up any of this stuff. And I apologize for taking that shortcut. Alright, so we're going to slide it into place, which is flush with that recess right there. I've got too much glue on both ends. I'm going to wipe off the excess with a dry paper towel first. Get it off of the threads. And then I'm going to take some alcohol. And I'm going to make sure I've got it off all the threads and that I'm still flush. And I'm going to get any excess out of there because I don't want that interfering with mounting the reel seat on the rod and getting in the way of my arbors. Same thing on the inside. Up front here, we're going to get the excess glue out of there. Alright, now we're going to lay this down. We've got the insert right at the lip there. We're going to lay it down flat so it doesn't move. Now, take your glue. And have enough. And mix up some more. Now I've got sticky fingers. Again, you got to be careful with that because you're going to leave fingerprints all over everything. And epoxy fingerprints, which is not good. Okay, hands are clean. You can take the sleeve, the barrel looking thing, and quickly put a heavy coat on the inside of it. Okay. I'm going to slide the trim ring barrel inside, turning as we go. And you see I left a fingerprint there. Gotta make sure we get all that off. Now, we're going to glue up the locking nut. Grab that paper towel because I still feel the residue on my fingers. Glue the inside of the trim barrel. Okay. And put it together. Just like that. Get a clean rag. Let's make sure we got all the excess off. Everything you can see. We didn't have any big globs. I just had some fingerprints that had just a little bit of epoxy on the tips of my fingers. And then stand this up, trim ring down for a few minutes until it sets. And that's the right way to do it, not the way I did it the first time. Again, after you've done a few, you can figure out your own shortcuts. And I just want to make sure you guys get it all glued up without having any problems. Like I said, this is a $60 handle set plus the reel seat. So you're looking at about $100 in handle and reel seat. So I don't want you guys making a mistake and having to go back and fix things. So, all right, I'm gonna finish these up and then we'll continue the rest of this video. All right, some of the other parts that I will assemble now is I'm gonna put this trim piece in the rear grip. I will also assemble, when this dries, I'll put this adapter trim band in. It's just a few things that I figured out, because you really need about 4 hands to put this all together at one time on the rod, and that's not a lot of fun to try to do. I'm about out of epoxy there. I'll mix up another batch real quick. Okay, now for these butt pieces, it's a rubber O-ring basically with a screw piece in, and this is going to be your butt cap. So what I'll do is I don't necessarily want this to be absolutely permanent. I just want it to hold together long enough so I can get it assembled into the butt of the rod, and then the rest of the glue inside the rod itself and the butt of the rod will hold it together. So what we'll do here, we'll take a little bit of epoxy and we're just going to coat that lip. And the inside of it, of the rubber washer piece, and then we're just going to snap it in place and wipe it down to clean it up. So we'll just snap it. We had a little bit of epoxy ooze out on the bottom there. With that cleaned up, we got it nice and even all the way around. That looks good. Put that aside. Okay, and then on this reel seat, I'm going to glue in the adapter ring that goes from the butt grip to the reel seat. Again, you don't have to do this now, but I found that the more of these pieces that you can pre-assemble before you try to put it all together on the rod, the better off you are. And these are the pieces that I have found that makes the most sense to pre-assemble, because then you don't limit yourself as you're putting the entire handle assembly on the rod itself. So I'm going to snap this in here. It's got ridges on it already, so making sure we don't have any leaks. And then the final piece that I'll put in ahead of time is this tiny little trim ring here, and it's got little grooves on it, so you don't have to mess with it. The inside of this piece is rough enough, I don't screw with it. I'm going to put epoxy on the inside. slide this in here nice and carefully, because if you try to force it and kick it sideways, it will bend. Here we go. So now we have the butt cap glued up, the accent trim and the rear grip glued up, and we have the entire rear seat assembly glued together, and I've got some residue on this one. So let me clean that up. Got a little sticky on my fingers. Just why I never wear gloves doing this. Because I want to know when I've got sticky on my fingers and they don't transfer to all these carbon fiber pieces, because it will show everything. Okay, there is a G2 Vibe 3K insert, carbon fiber hood with the silver trim pieces fully assembled, ready to go on a rod. Here's your rear grip with the trim piece ready to go on the rod. And then you have your actual butt cap partially assembled, ready to go on the rod. Now, what I typically do is I will let it sit and cure, a lot of times overnight, and then I'll come back and build the handle, which is what we're going to do. I'm going to build the rest of these, get everything ready, and next time we're going to mount this entire handle assembly on the bike. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time.